mattress and pillows to buy, then look no further. Latest Foam is your one-stop shop destination, whatever your choice and budgets. Latest Foam, your partner for life. And here's a very important notice from Latest Foam. They're asking you to be careful with persons on social media posing to work for Latest Foam and duping the unsuspecting public. Latest Foam does not do delivery to individuals, so please ignore any request on social media that you should send money and items will be delivered to you. Deal with Latest Foam at their showroom and authorized agents and ignore the criminals on social media. So let's get talking about legal education in Ghana, the possible reforms. And Raymond, let's start with how this year has been, because last year, it was over 1,000 students admitted into the Ghana School of Law.
We thought that was a change, right? We thought that was a breath of fresh change, more numbers getting in there. Then the surprise of this year came in. That's yet to be explained. In fact, I mean, we could dismiss I felt we could dismiss the claims that it was an election year. There was a lot of talk about legal education. There were promises from the opposition to do massive reform. So if you're a government, it makes sense to try and influence the process a little bit and make sure that it goes easy. Not necessarily saying that the people who got in did not deserve it, but the differences in the numbers suggested something different to people this year. And that has also not been really explained. So I mean, politically, it sounded like, well, let's do it for the year 2020 because there's election.
Yeah. And that's also because in 2019, we had less than 200 people qualifying. It resulted in a demonstration. There was plenty of talk. Yeah. And then 2020 came and everything was calm. And then here we are again in 2021. So, Hassan, what's your story?
A couple of issues at the moment, but let's begin with 499, for example. Before we started the exams, let me put it on record that there was notice, basically, that any student who was able to make the 50 mark would pass. Right after the exams, it looks like the rules have changed. And to explain it better to you, the rules are to the effect that a student must make half of the section B and half of the section A to be able to pass the exam. In effect, the section A had 20 questions, which was totaling 40 marks. The section B had 2 questions, which was 60 marks. So you're supposed to get 20 and 30 to make the mark. However, this was not mentioned before we started the exams. It rather came out, in my opinion, as a knee-jerk solution to a problem that has persisted over the period. What do I mean by the problem? There's always been a structural issue from day one. In fact, it's been over 11 years of not resolving this problem. I say knee-jerk because if a student made the 60 over 60 in section B and made 18 over 40 in section A, totaling 78, that student has failed according to the provision. And yet the one who made 20 and 30, getting 50, has passed. It's extremely unreasonable and absurd. The bad side is to the effect that they did not even tell us before we started. Now, I learned some words at law school. One is transparency. The second is accountability. The third is consistency. The fourth is reasonability. Do we teach students and yet we don't apply what we teach them? Because it's really frustrating that somebody sits, reads over 180 topics within 7 weeks, sits for an exams, makes assuming 78%, and you are saying that because that student could not make half of every side of the questions, I mean the exams, that student has to fail. It doesn't make sense. In fact, it's so absurd. It's unacceptable. But I don't think the problem is actually the student. The problem is the structure, the system we run.
All right, we'll come back to the kind of system that we run. Amma Sewa. Okay, we'll go to Amma in a little bit. But I just want to read Hassan because there was a notice that was issued before the exam. And Raymond, listen to this. Point 6 of that notice, and this was published in the Daily Graphic newspaper. It said application shall be made by completing the entrance. Okay, no, let me go back to an earlier point. Eligible applicants who attain the minimum threshold mark set by the General Legal Council will be offered admission for the 2021-2022 academic year to pursue the professional law course. It said threshold mark set by the General Legal Council. Raymond, when you hear this, because it didn't explain the grading system at this point. This is just what it said.
But to be fair, I mean, grading systems are ideally supposed to be known ahead of time. In fact, they are so institutionalized that even years before you write the exam, and if there are any major changes to it, people they know. It also influences the strategy with which you write your exams, and every student knows that, right? So it's shocking that it's this vague largely on it. But what's the point? Is it to just give them room to maneuver, or it's possibly an opportunity to make last minute changes and let it fit into whatever strategy you have in place? I think, and to be fair, for us as a state not to be able to resolve this small problem of excess numbers, especially when there is a massive demand out there, it tells a lot about how we do not take ourselves serious, because this has been happening for virtually every year, and you cannot. There's not a single year, even when the numbers were huge from last year, everybody still made complaints about the system we're running. It appears the only people who are happy about the system is the people who are running it. But how is that possible?
And consistently they've also said that they don't have issues with infrastructure, because, and I remember, was it 2 years ago, when we had that massive failure, that record, where they pointed to the UPSA, for instance, and said, listen, we've secured rooms here. We can accommodate a lot more students, except that not many of them pass. But let me go to Amma. Amma Sewa. Amma, tell us about your unique situation. So first, the results was released. Your number was not there. But just yesterday, the whole results for the entire student body, every person that sat for the exam, that result was released. What did you discover?
Right. So last Tuesday, after the results were released, I went through and I couldn't find my index number. And so obviously I assumed I had failed the exam. Now, yesterday, my mom called me very early, around 8, and she's like, some of your friends have passed but have not been admitted. And, because of how these things are, a lot of false news circulates. So I wasn't really sure what she meant. I went to my class page and the raw scores had been released. I went through and then I found my ID number. And I had passed in the sense that I had attained about 50%. So I was a bit confused, because why isn't my name on the pass list when I have attained about 50%? Then I saw a notice that had been published, which was attached to the raw score, that students were now expected to attain 50% in each section before they would be allowed into the school. This essentially means that you can actually pass the exam, but you will be disqualified from admission. This was not communicated to us. We were told we were supposed to attain 50% when we wrote the exam, which is what 499 students did. But we have been excluded because of this new disqualification criteria that we did not know about. So yeah, that's how yesterday went.
What was your immediate reaction when you read the notice explaining why your name was not included in the pass list?
Frankly confused, because when you're applying for any type of exam, you are told what you need to satisfy before you gain admission into whatever school that you're going, and you're given full information. And thinking back to last week and me accepting that I had failed my exam, and then a week later finding out that no, I haven't failed, I've actually passed, I was a bit confused. I'm like, what's happening here? Why haven't we been told this? Why weren't we told this before we sat for the exam? I'm still processing it. It's a very confusing state, but I'm still processing the information.
What do you think are the major problems here?
To be honest, even though the legal counsel has consistently denied the fact that there are lack of facilities. We clearly remember when the budgets were read that initially it was stated via the Ministry of Finance that 550 students were going to be admitted into the law school. This was before we wrote the exam. How do you determine the number of people you're going to admit before we write the exam? Regardless, we went ahead and then we wrote the exam. So if you know that you can take only 550 people, you should be providing some kind of, adjustment. And like you rightly said, there are about 14 or 15 law schools now, law faculties. The Ghana School of Law was created for one faculty. That was the initial plan. But now there are 14, which clearly means that there are going to be a whole lot more law students who are trying to get professional qualifications. You should create more opportunities for us to get those professional qualifications. And this has been going on for years. If you're not creating avenues for us to have the access to the facilities, then there's always every year, there's going to be this new criteria and codes that would deny people access just because there aren't enough facilities to cater for all of us. Personally, I think that might be the major problem. Even though it's constantly denied, I do not think so. I think that's what it is, lack of facilities.
Let me come to you, Hassan. What do you think are the major issues here?
I think she has already mentioned one, which is the facilities. That is number one. In fact, they don't have the, in my opinion, if you had just one school for the University of Ghana, which was the only university which was feeding into Makola, then obviously when you accredit other universities, you think of expansion or find ways to resolve the problem. I think the number two issue, in my opinion, is the board of the GLC. I think it needs a total reform. Why do I say that? You have some senior judges of the Supreme Court who are members. You have faculty people who are also members. And when there are issues, you need to go back to these same people to resolve the problem. I feel it's some kind of a conflict of interest situation. So in my opinion, I think the board of the GLC needs a total overhaul. It needs a different group of people. Maybe the Supreme Court or the judges can advise, but if you have educationists running the system, I'm sure the outcome will be different. Because when there are problems and I go to court, as I speak to you, since 2019, when we filed an issue, we got a feedback from the, which is to say, I'm trying to find the word. The court actually...
There was a decision.
There was a decision in court, thank you. And then this decision was challenged. Basically, there was a stay of execution, appeal to the Court of Appeal, and then we go to the Court of Appeal as of the last time, nothing has been filed. And it's been 1 year. So the question is, if the judges were not on these boards, maybe we would have found or had a speedy answer to our issue. But when they are on, how does a High Court judge instruct his boss, in my opinion, who is the CJ, to do something that he has to oblige? And if you watch over the years, they never, whatever you tell them to do, they won't do it. It looks like there are teen gods there. They don't care about what happens to whoever because they are the final arbiters in the end. So I feel the structure of the GLC would have to be changed. There has to be some kind of liberalization. What do I mean? Decentralize the system. We can allow the faculties to run the course. We do twice, maybe 2 exams in a year, where students write the exam. If they pass, they go on to become lawyers. But we can run a system whereby we have 4 walls, ensure that assuming we are even churning out 150 students every year from all the faculties, you're talking of over 2,000. How do you push all these people into a 500 capacity kind of structure? It's never going to work. So I think that the structure issue would have to be resolved, which is, in my opinion, by decentralizing the system. And the second one will be to look at the issues of who becomes part of the GLC board. I think that would have to be looked at.
Raymond, when we pose the question, what kind of lawyers do we want? What kind of law student do we want? Mm-hmm. How does that fit into the issues being raised?
So first, there are accepted standards. generally, there's a body that determines, for example, the number of courses that schools should run for it to qualify as a proper law school. So it will say that at the various basic degree level, you should have 13 courses on this and that area, specific subject areas. Then beyond that, it will determine who qualifies to be a teacher in these schools so that standards are set. Now, I've heard some members of the GLC say quietly that they still have some mistrust of some of the institutions or schools running some of these programs. But the difficulty here is that those schools might have gotten accreditation from the National Accreditation Board, which has the legitimate responsibility to run it. So is that difference? That's where they think that they have to sieve through a means that to them is the most appropriate for them. Now, more importantly, all over the world, there's a conversation as to how professional bodies, for example, like the legal profession, will finally get people into its fold. What, for example, is preventing us from having a system where everybody goes to whichever school they want to, like they do in final exams, then come and write the bar exams and qualify to it. So you can spend the number of years that you want to spend at your faculty, wherever it happens to be. Then you finally go to write the bar exam, which will finally indicate that, no, you are qualified to practice at the final. What's the big deal with that? That will remove the difficulty of having schools and rooms to train the students and do that all over the place and still not have facilities available. Because from the look of things, what we are basically saying is that the Ghana School of Law now wants to expand or should expand. But you don't need to expand. You can take away that middle layer. Just make sure that the faculties are having the same curriculum that you would have thought at the Ghana School of Law and the same people who are qualified to teach there. And without that qualification, then you remove them from your list of qualified schools. Then finally, if you still want to certify them, you give them an examination at the tail end. We have some professional bodies doing that, right? And we have not complained about that. They have international accreditation and deemed to be perfect. Why is this difficult to implement in Ghana? Why is this? Because if you listen to him clearly, their problem is how to get to the Ghana School of Law, first and foremost. And if you check how they are dealing with it, they are basically saying that, we don't have numbers, so we have to use whichever means possible to try and curtail the numbers to numbers that are reasonable, that can be taken on to the next level. When we remove the middle layer and ensure the standards cut across the board, if the National Accreditation Board cannot do it properly, if you still want the General Legal Council to be involved, why can't they be the ones setting the standards for the various faculties to meet so that they still produce the same set of students and they go and write a final exam for you to be sure that there's a quality that you want? How have we not explored this option all these years?
So the question that is at the top of my mind right now is, whose job is it to solve this problem? Whose job is it to solve this problem? I mean, it has been in the ambit of the General Legal Council to decide what happens, to decide how lawyers are formed in Ghana. For all these years, we've had this same problem. Whether the problem is a lack of space and facilities or whatever the factors are, these problems have existed for years, and it has been in the hands of the General Legal Council to solve them. Is it not clear yet that they can't?
Or they've run out of ideas?
Should somebody else not be stepping in at this point? Should perhaps government, parliament, some responsible body not step in and make decisions for them? Because look, sometimes when you ask someone to solve a problem, that does not require the reinvention of the wheel, but the person still can't solve it, then maybe it's not a competence issue. Maybe it's just a lack of willingness. We train doctors in this country. Once upon a time, there was only one place where you could go to become a doctor, and that would have been Legon.
Yeah.
Right? Once upon a time. But we managed to get beyond that.
Yeah.
Now you can go to UCC, become a doctor. You can go to several universities and become a doctor. Doctor who? The one in whose hands your life will be.
Yeah.
We can train them in other places beyond the place where it began.
Yeah. Just
But
because
lawyers,
there's a standard that's expected of all of these schools.
Exactly.
You just have to meet it.
Exactly. So for me, I think maybe we should be taking the responsibility away from those who have shown us that they can't solve the problem. Let's take it away from them. They can't do it. So let's start thinking of who can, where we can bring a solution that would apply, that would work, and that is practical. So we can actually look, we have a need for lawyers in this country. We have a massive need for lawyers in this country.
And even judges, you heard the Chief Justice complain that we can't run a state like this with the number of judges in the country. But if they don't become lawyers, they don't become judges anyway. And if it's almost difficult for them to become lawyers, how do you expect there to be more judges in the country? That's the difficulty here. Kojo, we heard the Attorney General. We also heard the Chief Justice, both at their vettings, speak on this matter. At the core of all of these were the need for reform, and you can see they agree in principle to some need for reform. So why hasn't that happened? If virtually everybody along the value chain agrees that there's some need for reform, except that it could be the agreement is in public but not in private, and that when it comes to action, nobody wants to act. But if we all agree that there's some need for reform, why hasn't it happened? Why are we repeating something for almost a decade? Same solutions, same mode of doing things. And once in a while, when there's an election year and an opposition leader promises to do some form of reform, then we tinker and make sure that more numbers go through for just an immediate period. But then after that, we revert to it because there's no election in 2021.
Let's try and see if Amma can propose some solutions. How do we improve the system? Amma, if you're still with us. Hello, Amma. Okay, I think we probably lost her. We'll try and raise her back on the line and try and look forward in terms of how do we resolve this. The last time you went to court, Hassan.
Yes.
What are the options this time around?
At the moment, we are speaking with lawyers. But let me just put this in, or let me just state this: that all options are on the table. We can opt for any of them. Be it at the moment, we've decided to knock on a couple of doors with a petition, try and see if we can resolve the issue of the 499 immediately. But going forward, we are calling on the CSOs, calling on Parliament, we are calling on a couple of organizations that we think well-meaning Ghanaians who can find a way to resolve this issue as soon as possible, like the Peace Council, etc. So we have all these things going on at the moment because it came in just yesterday, and that is the only option we have now. But as I said, everything is on the table. Let me react to something that he said about the accreditation issue. Now, if you accredit an institution and you think it is underperforming, the responsibility should not be that of a student.
That's true.
It should be that of those who accredited that organization. So if you want to penalize me because of your incompetence, then it's pathetic. So you should ensure that at least they have all the things that they need. I didn't accredit the institution. So if I go there and you think because the institution is below whatever standards you think you have, that should not be against the students who did nothing but only applied to an institution you have accredited. So I think the bit about accreditation and the low standard of whatever institution they are talking about is flawed in my opinion. We don't have the capacity to ensure that the right thing is done as long as we are concerned. You have a whole task force that goes around to ensure that some of these things are done. Why should we be penalized for your incompetences?
I get your point. And you see, can you believe that, Kojo, in the year 2018, we did a roundtable on this.
Yes.
Similar issues, similar complaints. I mean, slight changes in the complaints anyway, and maybe different set of people complaining. And yet, we came up with very wonderful ideas on how to go forward. And they're not different from the ones being expressed today. We do know that it is the responsibility of the Attorney General and the General Legal Counsel to fix this problem. Indeed, the President can make it as a matter of state policy. Step in and order the Attorney General to ask to instruct the GLC to do what is required. It is just not getting the right kind of attention from the right people. Surprisingly, I can't get the point. Because education is important, more so to this government than virtually every government in the last God knows how long period. So why is this so much of a big issue to deal with? Who is the big God who cannot be pleased or who we are afraid to touch in this conversation? That is making it impossible for this reform to happen.
Can I ask a question? Is it true that last year all candidates were made to sign a document saying that they will not challenge the results?
It is not last year.
When was it?
It's been on since, I think, if my mind takes me, 2019.
So since 2019, every year, candidates have to sign a document.
We call it an undertaking.
Saying that
you will not challenge the results.
And
Now,
you guys want to become lawyers.
That
Would
is
you
true.
advise your client to sign such a document?
you see, if you don't write the exams, you don't have the
You don't
locals
have
to
the locals.
even challenge the issue. So what we did, as much as we don't like
What do you mean
it,
you don't have the locus? I'm sorry. But
Okay.
if I want to challenge an issue, I can do so.
But
as
this
a
was
citizen.
challenged back in
we have actually done
and
that.
they got some
We-
decision in
we-
their favor.
We got a decision that has been, that is going to be challenged at the Court of Appeal. In fact, the judge instructed from the reliefs that we got that they are supposed to remark these things within 2 weeks. They rather applied for a stay of execution, went to the Court of Appeal, and after 1 year, they have not filed a paper.
So
to
what
challenge-
happens in practice?
Well, I cannot speak much to it because I'm not a lawyer yet. But to the best of that is why I think that there is some form of conflict of interest here, in my opinion. And that is why I want the GLC, for example, I'm calling for the dissolving of it or restructuring everything. Because if you have the Chief Justice being the head or the chairman of such a group, how does a High Court judge instruct a Chief Justice to say that I want you to do ABC? So in my opinion, I think the whole structure would have to be changed, the GLC structure, to actually pave way for some of these issues to be resolved quickly. Beyond that, let's go into, you talked about who is going to resolve this thing.
Yeah.
I think we need a political will. I'm going political, I'm not saying politics, political. You need one who will say, for example, last year or last 2 years when we went to see the president, he said the GLC should do all that they can to help the situation. What has happened? Nothing. So you need somebody who would say that, I want this thing resolved. I want Parliament to sit on this matter, draft legislations that would favor the students, or find a way to restructure or redesign this whole thing.
I want to ask Amasewa, by way of moving forward, looking at the options on the table. Yesterday, when the Director of Legal Education issued that notice, that's Mr. Kwesi Prempeh-Ek, the last paragraph said, the decision of the General Legal Counsel in respect of the published results of the entrance examination is final. Please be informed accordingly. So, paying attention to the notice, what kind of options do you think you have?
Right. So, regardless of the text of his notice, we are still going forward with petitions to, I think we'll go through the National Association of Law Students, first of all, to speak to the legal counsel. And I think we'll take it from there. We do not want to get ahead of ourselves.
Oh, unfortunately, I think we just lost Amasewa again. There are lots of questions that we're asking. Are the students' complaints legitimate? Is the system, as we find it today, fit for purpose? What are the standard practice elsewhere? We will be getting answers to all of these. This is the Super Morning Show, and of course, you can also send us messages on Twitter using the hashtag JoySMS. We'll come back and also take your comments as well.
Yeah, a quick message before we go, something to think about while we take this break. It's a message sent to me by a lawyer. It says, "Good morning, Kuju. When nothing makes sense, there is self-interest at play. The truth is that the GLS stands to make a lot of money. The more students they have, the more money they make. The more students they have, the more money they make from students. Fees are high in the law school. They don't want to allow others to nibble at their cake." Could that be it? We'll talk more when we come back.
Hello. Oh, Charlie, how be? Bro, I need some help. Right, my money all finished. And month no end, so I make hot pass. I fit see some small loan for a side, I beg.
Oh, bro, make Charlie. I make hot pass you. My landlord today can't take your rent.
Oh, Charlie. All right, you make a call another person. Hello. Oh, Charlie, I need some help. Right, my money all finished. And month no end, so I make hot pass. So you see, I feel. Oh.
The number you are trying to reach is not available. Please call back later.
Hey, Adane. Kelvin. Yes. You make hot. Charlie. Rough.
So make today payday with Cowbank Salary Advance. Get an advance of up to 80% of your net monthly salary before payday. Just visit the nearest Cowbank branch, or you can call our toll-free number on 0800 500 500 to find out how you can apply today.
Cowbank, forward together.
This is an ad about the fans. They are go pay tomorrow fans. The money no be problem fans. They will go score you fans. The sports fans.
Bet of Africa is an online sports betting experience that gives you the chance to turn your game and player predictions to wins. All you have to do is register an account with Bet of Africa and get your first bet free. You also get 100% on first deposit up to 1,000 Ghana cedis. Bet of Africa day your corner, your ring, your center circle, your goalpost, your pocket. With Bet of Africa, there's more to every game because when their teams win, they win. Download the app now and stand the chance to win with your team. Choose Bet of Africa. Terms and conditions apply. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gaming can be addictive.
Everybody in Ghana is dancing to the Togo Miso song because they're experiencing the Airtel Tigo money shower.
Togo Miso!
Airtel Tigo is showering free cash, data, and calls to all networks every hour, every day till December in the Togo Miso promo with a grand prize of a whopping 100,000 Ghana cedis. Yes, 100,000 Ghana cedis. Dial star 500 hash, recharge, and do more on Airtel Tigo to be among the thousands of people to win over 1 million Ghana cedis. So why wait? Charlie, dial star 500 hash now.
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
Once again, Malcolm, your number one stop-shop supermarket is getting bigger, better, and super mega.
Great news here. Now with over 40,000 items under one roof ranging from electronics, homeware,
kitchenware, furniture, home decor,
electricals, supermarkets, and groceries.
All these at one shop.
Oh yeah, you heard right.
Your shopping experience just got really better.
Malcolm, your number one stop-shop supermarket for all your daily needs.
Terms and conditions apply.
Malcolm, where Ghana shops.
Hey, bro, Kofi, your ceiling be smooth, bright, and fine, Papa.
That's an understatement. It dey blink like 80 carats white gold. This be interface plasterboard ceilings. Smooth, bright, and long-lasting. Everybody where they come here, they fill up. Where they direct them go Interface Limited for world-class quality.
If you're involved in new property development, renovation, or decoration, the right place for you is Interface Limited. Call us on 0274 999999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook, Interface Limited GH. Instagram, interface.limited.
A month way, Vodafone Smart Serve is here! Yes, Smart Serve from Vodafone allows you to connect to super fast wireless internet anywhere and anytime at your own convenience. Whether home or office or on your, we move with seamless connectivity. Charlie, there's even more. Vodafone Smart Serve connect up to 32 devices. What? So now you can connect to the internet on your own terms, increase your productivity, make the most of the things that matter, and do so much more. Visit fbb.vodafone.com.gh or the nearest Vodafone shop today and get a Smart Serve device now.
It's from Ghana with Qatar Airways and discover incredible offers to amazing destinations around the world. For a limited time, benefit from our special savings when you book by 8th October 2021 for travel until 31st March 2022. Terms and conditions apply. Visit QatarAirways.com. Qatar Airways, the airline you can rely on.
Why do you allow coughs, cold, and flu to ruin your happiness? You need Summerlin cough syrup. Summerlin cough syrup will relieve you and your family from coughs, cold, and flu. Summerlin offers a whole range that provide relief for the entire family. Insist on your Summerlin in pharmacies and licensed chemical shops. Summerlin cough syrup from Danex Itin Starwin PLC. If symptoms persist after 48 hours, consult a physician. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Hello, now I saw Ufia no color bang. Are you blue and answer white?
Oh, are you blue? I was junction so.
Yeah, cheese if you're blue behind here, and now I hear back one year benchina. Yeah, cheese am I a fool na she?
I said when you pack your junction so meba is here.
Ah, asew. Na if you wear blue, and a powder ni white tea. Oh, asew we dey fata.
Asew.
Eda no apa, paint no so apa ka ho. We dey fanya wa yo.
Nanu ye ni paint ifie you.
Jamamonte Agatex nka.
Agatex.
Oh, you are Agatex. Hwɛ, ubeto painter, eno ani Agatex o. Say you blue a, you blue. Iso to, eyabo, ejinamu kanpe, kakra bi na ohia. Na wodan na ye kama.
Hey, any Agatex paint there. It pass all.
No. Agatex. It pass all.
Enti me ye dey nya bi.
Oh, Agatex there. Enya na e wo shop bia mu. So wo pere dodo to a. 050-977-0200. Agatex. E quality Ghana painter. Ghana for ayama Ghana for. Everybody in Ghana is dancing to the Tugumiso song because they're experiencing the Airtel Tigo money shower.
Tugumiso!
Airtel Tigo is showering free cash, data, and calls to all networks every hour, every day till December in the Tugumiso promo with a grand prize of a whopping 100,000 Ghana cedis. Yes, 100,000 Ghana cedis. Dial star 500 hash, recharge, and do more on Airtel Tigo to be among the thousands of people to win over 1 million Ghana cedis. So why wait? Charlie, dial star 500 hash now.
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
Good morning. Wake up to the original magazine show. The Super Morning Show.
Welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy997 FM. We're all together trying to solve this problem once and for all, okay? Those students, they come and write these exams. Then there's always wahala. First of all, the fact that they have to write the exam now is a debatable issue. So now we want to figure out, how do we solve it? Well, for all these years, the people responsible for solving it, the General Legal Counsel, have not solved it. We still have these problems every year. So what is the way forward? How do we fix it? That's what we're talking about. And your views matter. So keep your tweets coming through. Use the hashtag JoySMS. And of course, we will share your thoughts with the world.
But if you've spent countless hours praying for showers of blessings, your miracle could be right around the corner. Airtel Tigo is making a shower huge cash prizes, data and call minutes in the Airtel Tigo Tugumiso promo. From now to December, what? Tugumiso. Is it Tugumiso? Tugumiso. Okay. Tugumiso. From now to December, people all over Ghana will be winning awesome prizes every hour, every day, every week, and every month with a grand cash prize of 100,000 cedis. All you have to do is to dial star 500 hash, recharge 5 Ghana cedis or more, and build up points from recharging bundle purchases and usage, daily airtime usage, and ATM transactions. You can get even more points from the daily SMS trivial for 30 Ghana pesos, or from simply buying extra points for more chances to win big. So don't miss out. Dial star 500 hash to enter the Airtel Tigo Tugumiso promo now. Charlie, don't lose guard. Airtel Tigo will contact you only on 0260 000 100. 0260 000 100. Every other number is a scam. So if you've won something, they're going to call you on 0260 000 100. Airtel Tigo, life is simple.
It's a very romantic promotion, Airtel Tigo Tugumiso
promo.
I mean, it must sound lovely when your woman says Tugumiso, unless you are broke.
Unless
you are broke.
Because have you seen it before? There was an old video of a certain gentleman who went to the UK and said that he was working, and that in the UK, if you work, you get plenty money. So he's asking the girl to Tugumiso. Then they're spreading the money on him, and the money is falling on him. So you see, he worked for a few days and he got so much money.
There's a history to it. I'm not surprised. All right, listen, we had the Joy Business Minute earlier. Thanks to Consolidated Bank Ghana, CBG, we stand with you. And NCA Insurance, the real face of insurance.
Let's get onto the phone lines and speak to...
Hang on. I thought there was one more for you. There isn't. There is one more for you,
cool.
But first, if you're a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, or a government worker on the controller payroll, if you need urgent financing, then don't worry any longer. Access CBG personal loan at a very competitive rate and pay over 60 months. For more information on how to access this loan, walk into any CBG branch near you or contact them on 0302 216 000. The email address is info@cbg and of course that means the website is cbg.com.gh. They're also on all social media platforms. You can contact them on all their handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They are at CBG Bank Ltd. Find them for updates. Terms and conditions apply. CBG, we stand with you.
And if you just joined us, we're talking about legal education, particularly on the back of the results released by the General Legal Council for admissions to the Ghana School of Law this year. There were two different lists. One was the pass list, and just yesterday, the raw scores came out. It happened that some people actually got 50 and more marks, except that because of some technical, mechanical explanation, they cannot go to the Ghana School of Law. Let's talk to a man who is familiar with all these concerns and some suggestions for reforms that have come up in the past. Mr. Kweku Ansasari is a lawyer. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning.
Great. So listening to the concerns, particularly this year, are they legitimate, the complaints?
Pardon?
I'm asking if the complaints related to this year's exams are legitimate.
And what is the complaint? Or what are the complaints?
So the understanding going into the exam was that you needed the 50% to qualify. After the release of the raw scores yesterday, we got to know that over 400 students actually crossed the 50% mark. They either got 50 or more. There was an explanation that you needed to get 50% for the section A and 60% for the section B in order to pass. This was not clear from what we understand from the students going into the exam. So I'm asking if the complaints following the release of the result and the explanation given are legitimate.
Thank you very much. First of all, I assume that the complaints are coming from some of the students or candidates who wrote the exam. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, as law students and intending lawyers, they ought to know that as a general principle, when there's an invitation to take part in examinations, that is not an offer in the first place. And therefore, whether a candidate scored 100% or 120% or 100, it's not conclusive or decisive that the candidate will be offered admission. The offer of admission is at the discretion of the general legal. So as law students, they ought to be familiar with the general principle regarding invitations to take part in examinations and the criterion or criteria for assessment into the particular educational institution. So again, that backdrop, the complaints will not be legitimate. However, in the General Legal Council, after publication of the results, has come out to offer what you refer to as technical explanation. I don't think they are being sincere and fair to the students. If you invite students or candidates to write exams and you advise them that the criterion or criteria for selection will be this, and then after publication you change the criterion or criteria, that amounts to deception. And on that ground alone, I think the council has nodded a little. I am not aware. I have asked some students to furnish me with exactly what they were said with and what the council is now saying. So as a lawyer, I'm unable to allocate blame or lay the blame precisely onto the General Legal Council. But based on what you have just said, I don't think that if any such explanation is forthcoming from the General Legal Council. they are being sincere with the student body. That's my honest and candid opinion.
What kind of options do you see available to candidates who wrote and got the 50 and more?
Well, in line with the general principle, I do not think there's any viable option looking to them. The principle will remain the same regardless of whatever information they were fed with. I'm saying that my submission is that if you write an exam, the selection is not dependent upon the raw score that you obtained. That's the general principle. So, being law students, I'm sure they are familiar with the difference between invitation to treat and an offer. And they might have been taught that as far as exams are concerned, that is the general principle. So you may turn out to be the best. There are certain criteria that the General Legal Counsel may decide to use. It may not be within the peculiar knowledge of the candidate, that may be peculiarly within the knowledge and discretion of the General Legal Counsel.
Mr. Ansasari, can I ask about the other thing that raises controversy and has been raising controversy over the past couple of years? That is the requirement of students to sign an undertaking before writing the exam, undertaking to not challenge the results. How does that sit with you?
That is illegal. The council has no right, absolutely no right. It's beyond constitutional. How do you gag students? You are training people to become lawyers who should be independent and speak their mind, and then you tell them you are writing this exam. Now, if it turns out that you are saying, don't question me, don't ask me anything, don't go to court, it's unconstitutional. I think that the whether the candidate pass or not, the entire student body should take this matter up in the court, and let the court understand that they have to work within rules. If a non-law student or non-lawyer were to take this issue up, I'm sure the court will strike any such restriction as unlawful or irregular. As far as I'm concerned, it is not legitimate at all. It is an illegitimate extension of the functions of the General Legal Counsel.
So let's look forward to solutions. Let's look to solutions. The General Legal Counsel has been responsible for resolving this all this time. The matter remains unresolved. What would be your recommendation?
As far as the administration of exams is concerned, or
that's correct, yes.
Well, my take on this issue has remained the same throughout the past decade. That this problem has appeared to be a perennial one. Every year we have to revisit this issue. My take on the matter is that the General Legal Counsel is not competent to administer, such examinations. And I say so because the General Legal Counsel seems to me to be an amorphous body composed of people from the judiciary, from the Ministry of Justice, the Dean of the University of Ghana Law School, some professional and non-professional personnel. Now, as a body, quite a number of them do not appear to understand and appreciate legal education. Most of them know next to nothing about legal education. So over the years, what the council, differently constituted, has done is always to rely on the advice or recommendation of the Director of Legal Education. It seems to me that for the past 10 years, the chairpersons of the General Legal Council have interfered, with the running and organization of the Ghana School of Law, to the extent that now the Director of Legal Education has actually nothing whatsoever to do. In terms of examination, as you are probably aware, the functions and advisory role of the Director of Legal Education have been transferred to a so-called Independent Examinations Committee. Whoever the people are, I don't know. Whether they are competent, to be examiners, I can't tell. Whether they are knowledgeable about examinations, I don't know. Whether they are proficient in legal education, I can't tell. So, first of all, the structure of the General Legal Council and the so-called Independent Examinations Committee, must be looked at. Again, as far as I'm concerned, the body, the General Legal Council, should have been scrapped soon after Ghana attained Republican status. This body has existed since 1958. It has not seen any reform. The structure has been the same. Their commitments, have been the same. They have no idea about curriculum development, about needs assessments of the modern law students. They don't understand financial autonomy of a law school. The manpower requirements of the nation is not their concern. So a whole lot of things. If we try to find one shoe fit all solution, it will not solve the problem. What can assist us in resolving this perennial problem is to establish a National Council for Legal Education to be made up of people who are knowledgeable, who have the requisite expertise to engage and drive the engine of legal education than the body, that has been tasked to, oversee the delivery of legal education in this country. Until the General Legal Council is scrapped and a much more competent body put in place, it will be like the Accra perennial flood. Every year it will come and the problem will never go away.
Okay, so just a bit of clarity on something that you said earlier, that admissions are not dependent on a candidate's raw scores. You use the fact that this is an invitation to treat and not an offer. Just to ask, shouldn't the terms be clear? Should aspects of the criteria be revealed after the past result is out?
I see it as a commitment of the council to the promotion of transparency, ethics, and independence of the so-called Independent Exams Committee. They've not been transparent, to be honest with you. That so-called Independent Exams Committee has not been transparent, and they keep shifting the polls. But it may be a problem of lack of confidence in the membership of the so-called Independent Examination Committee. That is how come they shift the goalposts every now and then. The point I made with regard to the raw score is simply that if 2,000 candidates are invited to write exams, the admission of which will be based on a selection criteria, then it is not just the raw score. That the council, be in its wisdom, will rely upon or use. They may determine the issue of eligibility for admission to the law school or the final, selection criteria. So a number.
Apologies there. I think we've just lost Ms. Ansasari on the line.
Yeah, let's see if we can reconnect. Very interesting perspective from the lawyer, who, of course, has been an administrator of legal education. So it's very important to hear what he has to say on this matter. Let's take a couple of messages and come back, see if we can continue with Lawyer Ansasari.
Super Morning Show.
What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices?
You have such a friend in Glyco Life Insurance. Glyco Life has all the plans to meet your life's needs. Your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the fullest today with Glyco Life Insurance plans. And remember that all our policies are hedged against inflation. Talk to Glyco Life on 0302 218 500 or 246 142. Also visit our website at www.glycolife.com or any of our branches nationwide for more information.
Glycolife, we cushion you for life.
Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Putting up or replacing a roof is not just laying the panels, it's a complete engineered system. And at Roofings and Steel Ghana Limited, we understand how the whole system works and are resolved to give you the very best quality in roofing and steel products. Manufactured locally in Ghana, we offer a range of steel and galvanized pipes, mild steel plates, and all ranges of roofing sheets, IBR and IDT, corrugated and galvanized. Our locally manufactured products are tropicalized to withstand local conditions. Distributors, wholesalers, contractors, builders, welders, and fabricators. It's time to get the best quality roofing and steel products made in Ghana. Visit our office at Chopoli on the Tema Aflawo Road. Call us on 0559 722 035 or 0552 571 173 or 0242 539 411. Roofings and Steel Ghana Limited, your strength in steel. Everybody follow not sa malaria. A 3D no not now. Malaria chill. Popo. What do you do? I want you. Num not. A dabako. Num not. A damienu. Num not. A damiensa. Num not. No not. Scatter malaria. Lonat, it scatter malaria.
A quality product from Blaze GVS Pharma. Yenshishemu who se malaria wa wumujum ansana wanum lona. Na nam yensearch na malaria no daso wo hwa ko hu dokota.
This advert is FDA approved.
Super Morning Show.
Welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. You know, we've taken it upon ourselves to start to shine a light on the solution to this constant, perennial debate and disagreement and disaffection that is caused by the entry exams to the law school. And once again, this year, we've had similar complaints and issues being raised by some people who hit the pass mark but are being told they didn't hit it right. Yeah. So just before we hear from you, because we'd love to hear your views, we have been speaking to lawyer Ansa Asare, who of course is an experienced administrator when it comes to legal education. And he's been sharing his views on these matters.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, just before the break, Mama B was engaging him.
Yeah, Mr. Ansasari, sorry we lost you there. But you know, we've been focusing on the General Legal Council even for the reforms. I want to ask where the Ghana Bar Association, what's their responsibility here? What should they be leading? Because they've been silent largely.
Okay, thank you. Well, the Ghana Bar Association should have been the body to run the Ghana School of Law. And in 1958, Kwame Nkrumah thought that the lawyers were too knowledgeable, referred to them as book long, and he didn't want the members of the bar to have any controlling authority over the intending lawyers, because he thought that the new breed of lawyers after independence, to be lawyers with indigenous knowledge who will not be confronting politicians and the government of the day, and therefore he chose advisedly to allow the body of benches, that is the judges, new judges, and some legal practitioners to run the law school. In 1976, there was an attempt by the Champong government to return the organization of legal education to the bar. I must explain that the bar, as it is organized today, is equally incompetent to run a law school. The bar itself needs some education, and therefore, between independence and today, it has been a very difficult legal terrain, for the nation to enter, as to whether the Ghana Bar Association can competently administer legal education. My candid opinion is that as the bar is structured now, it cannot. It cannot. And I would suggest that we should rather have a body composed of deans of the various law faculties and some people who have a passion to drive legal education in the country. Rather than but the bar alone, there won't be any difference between what the bar can do and what the general legal council can do. We need a holistic reform of legal education in the country, beginning with the scrapping of the general legal council and this place, the establishment of a body to be known as the National Council of Legal Education, whose membership ought to be drawn, from experienced legal practitioners and educators. It's not necessarily a domain of lawyers. There are some social scientists who can also render valuable services as far as legal education is concerned. The second point is that the law school is not yet established by law, and therefore it remains yet again an amorphous body. The law school is currently superintending the law faculty, but the law school itself has not been accredited. They have not been accredited because they lack the personnel, with the requisite qualification to go through the rigorous accreditation test. So the body that is superintending the faculties itself has not been accredited. It is not backed by law. And between 58 and today, one would have thought that since this issue keeps cropping up every now and then, the successive attorneys general and the chief justices, who are two of the 13 key persons running legal education, would have taken this matter up, set up a law school backed by law, set up a council to oversee the running of the law school and legal education. People with the requisite expertise, not just because you are a justice of the Supreme Court, then ipso facto you can run a law school. It's mind-boggling. The fact that you are a judge, doesn't confer on you the qualification or criterion or criteria to run a law school. The fact that you are an attorney general is not an influencing factor that should be a member of the body that runs legal education. Legal education is a different terrain altogether. It must be left to people who understand and have been engaged in legal education. Now, in this country, legal education is of two aspects. You have the academic phase and then the professional phase. The academic phase is under the auspices of the university. And there they come within the laws that have established the various universities. This is an area the General Legal Council is trying to enter. And again, if they understand legal education, they will realize that as far as the universities are concerned, they are established by law. And it is what the law has tasked them to do that they do. So for General Legal Council to attempt to extend their domain to the law faculties is a non-starter.
Okay,
Secondly,
okay.
The second phase of legal education is the professional or vocational aspect, which is administered by the General Legal Council, the Ghana, or through the Ghana School of Law. So if we talk of finding a solution to the problem, then we need to distinguish between the various routes, the academic routes and the professional routes. And then thirdly, ask ourselves, why was the law school established in the first place? Why? Its mandate was simply to train lawyers and judges by giving them continuing legal education. So the law school was established to provide continuing legal education for the Ghanaian lawyers who were returning from abroad. The General Legal Council was never asked to start afresh as they are seeking to do. So it's a misconception of the rule of the General Legal Council that has brought us, that far.
Okay. All right, sir. Just back to the 499 who got the 50% and more in some cases, but who haven't received admission or who have not passed per the lists that came out. If you look at the Legal Profession Act, Section 15 of Act 32, it says that the council shall, in the performance of their functions, comply with any general directions given to them by the minister. My question is, can the Attorney General Minister of Justice direct them to admit the 499?
No. First of all, the minister that you mentioned is, according to, since we quoted Section 15 of the Legal Profession Act, I may as well ask you to look at Section 56 of the same act, and there, the minister means the minister to whom functions under this act are for the time being assigned by the president. Do we know which particular minister the president has assigned this function? We don't know. And the minister here does not necessarily refer to the Attorney General. When this act was enacted in 1960, the minister was the Minister for Justice, Aaron Kwesi Ofori-Atta, and Geoffrey Bing was the Attorney General. So there's an interpretational or terminological challenge or issue with regard to the minister. So as far as I'm concerned, the minister here, is neither the Attorney General nor the Minister of Justice. The minister here means the minister to whom functions under this act are for the time being assigned by the president. So let's find out from the president to whom, which of his several ministers he has assigned this particular task before the students, decide to embark on any such route.
Right. Just very quickly, if I can get an answer from you in 60 seconds to this question, where do you stand on the whole idea of a person with a law degree having to write an exam before going to Makola?
For me, once you have passed, you should be eligible to enter. But the challenge we all know is infrastructure challenge. We don't have, lecture or to accommodate all of them. But as far as the criterion of possession of LLB is concerned, I think it is something that the council should just do away with. It should allow, everybody, to go and to enter the law school. What I will suggest is that we should modernize legal education, open the doors of legal education to everybody. Let the National Council of Legal Education decide in terms of our manpower requirements how many lawyers Ghana will need at any particular time. In 1970, the Attorney General Department needed 1,000 lawyers. In 1970, we are in 2021. The Attorney General Department alone doesn't have more than 190 lawyers. I stand to be corrected. By each 1970, the Attorney General Department required 1,000 lawyers. And today, it doesn't have more than 200. It means there's something wrong with our manpower planning. So, and one aspect of the reform that the General Legal Council, whatever body will be assigned the responsibility of legal education, one, crucial thing is manpower planning. We don't seem to know how many lawyers the nation requires. That is why, to use local parlance, we are beating about the bush. We need to know how many lawyers we have. So for me, again, let's do away with the General Legal Council and establish the National Council for Legal Education.
Right.
Let us allow, the faculties to be centered in accordance with the same Section 15 that we quoted. The same Section 15 authorizes all the faculties to run legal education, and therefore, if the faculties produce 5,000 law graduates, let there be a body that will give them the requisite professional training for them to go and write the professional exam. And then based upon the manpower requirements and number, let's say 5,000, right, you can decide that this year 3,000 out of the 5,000 should be called to the bar.
Right.
Instead of what we are doing now.
Right.
You shut the door. 2,880 write the exam. You take 780. If you compare the 780 to the 9 in 1963, it means there's some retrogression. We are not progressing at all.
Right. Lawyer Sansari, I want to say a big thank you for your time.
Welcome.
We appreciate it very much. So,
That's a lot unpacked.
Indeed, indeed.
Just fascinated by a few things, though. The fact that the minister, even though he sits on the GLC, may not be necessarily the person within whom the president has authorized.
Yeah. So the president could choose to authorize someone else to carry out that duty. He could, right? I mean, legally, he could choose someone
Apparently
else to
so.
carry out that duty. That's a fascinating thought. Okay, well, listen, shall we take a few calls? Yeah, let's take a few calls. Let's see what you're thinking about this matter, General Legal Counsel, the exams, and of course the way forward. How can we ensure that law students can go through the process, come out of high quality, but not be constrained by some of the issues that we've been seeing in recent times. Okay, so 0302 216 541 or 055 1111 997. In the meantime,
particularly if you're a student, you wrote the exam, you got the 50 or more, you're part of the 499. We want to hear from you. How, what do you think your options are? How does it feel really? But you don't have to queue to watch a movie these days. You just have to stream on your screen in your living room. You don't have to go to the mall these days. You can shop online and have it delivered at your doorstep. What if you could do the same with banking? Meet Abby, your 24/7 digital banking service from ABSA. Whether it is making an inquiry, paying a friend, buying airtime, or checking your balance, just ask Abby to do it for you. Add Abby on your WhatsApp 050 164 4644. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA. Terms and conditions apply. Visit absa.com.gh to learn more.
We've got Emmanuel from Kumasi. Hello, Emmanuel.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
I followed the discussion keenly, and even though I didn't start at the beginning, I've heard enough. I think that, excuse me to put it this way, the way we take everything in this country is our problem, okay? Things are not seen very seriously. And so people do things and go with it, and it's like it's going slowly into all the fabric, all our societal fabric. That's what we're seeing now. So, as Prof was saying, there should be council that can regulate this thing properly. But I wanted to ask, is it not under the Ministry of Education also? So that if it is, what arm of the Education Ministry is overseeing this, and what is happening? So that our students can also be at peace, because to have this kind of situation going on in the system, it starts bringing agitation. But as I said, from bottom up, let us see if we can do things more properly from our leaders and the rest, and not get away with so many wrong things. That's general, though. And then if that is happening, it will trickle down to areas that things should be done right. And I think this problem should be solved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thanks for being brief. Alex from Takrade, good morning to you.
Good morning, Kojo.
Yes, sir.
You see, this country, we have a very big problem. All that they are talking about is basic. From what I think, is basically due to an infrastructure issue. All this is resulting from an infrastructure issue, and I am now understanding why people still goat. I don't mean Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, a natural goat, and go to jail for 10 years. Meanwhile, people steal 50 million, and they can't even get a date in court. It's all because the people handling this process, by all means, they are lawyers, and they know about demand and supply. The country needs lawyers. If you supply more lawyers, the fees will come down. The fees that they will be able to charge a client will come down. Because a lawyer can go and do a case for somebody arrested for a goat. Okay? So, this country, we need, I don't know what we need again, but we need something. Maybe, I don't know. If I say it, maybe, I don't know.
Thanks for not saying it, Alex. Let's go to Dansuman. Here's Kezia. Hi, Kezia. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much. So I have some questions that I'm not too clear about.
Right.
It seems to me the structure for becoming a lawyer is a bit cumbersome. And if you ask me, if you look at the way the doctors and then the other healthcare professionals have had their system, where the schools that this is done, once you finish, you would probably carry out your internship and then you write your final exam and be a registered professional. Can we have a structure like that for the law school? Why do I have, or otherwise, for all these universities that are undergoing some form of a derivative of the law program, why can't they be self-sufficient to have the law being studied there? When a student graduates, he's graduating with that law degree, and then he probably has to write an exam to become a registered lawyer. I mean, these are things that we should be thinking about, rather than this whole jamboree.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kezia. Dennis is calling us from Accra Central. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning. Could you? You see, it's only in Ghana that students were blamed for failure in examination. Elsewhere, when there's a massive failure, a probe is opened into the exam council's operation. And some people would have to resign or get suspended or even sacked as a result of that. Now, we are all surprised the turnaround of Mr. Ekwesi Prempeh in his release yesterday. Being an LLB holder, I believe strongly that if you have anything within the contract that you are entering into with the candidate, you should stay open. And that is the principle of law. Let us know your position. You can't come after every other thing and then come and give us a reason of an afterthought. That is actually unfair. And these are people supposed to uphold freedom and justice. Ghana is crying. It shouldn't happen like this. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Dennis. We've had an intervention sent through to us, right?
Yes, the GBA does not set the legal fees. If you go to the Judicial Service website, you would find that's not the GBA's domain.
Yeah. Ajewa is in Adenta. Hi, Ajewa.
Hi, Kweju.
Thanks for calling.
I've been listening to the program, and I have a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my first questions is, how come a lot of our mates who were unable to qualify in Ghana go to neighboring countries and are able to get it, come back and get called to the bar in record time? So what I want to ask our leaders is, what is their plan? Is it just to frustrate Ghanaians and get money, squeeze money out of a lot of hundreds and hundreds of applicants? And to start with, the examination center is just in Accra. So you go and you meet people from the north, from all over Ghana, coming to sit for this exam. At the end of the day, they just determine what they want, when they want it, and apply the rules retrospectively. Because I do not understand how come you go and write a paper, you are not told that you need to pass both sides equally or whatever, at least get 50% in each session. And then after they think that they can't accommodate everybody, they come back and set new rules. I'm just thinking that we need some leadership in Ghana, and we do need leadership around this. We've talked for way too long. It's about time we got some leaders taking leadership and making clear decisions around this and stopping the frustration that thousands of qualified Ghanaians go through. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ajewa. Thanks to all of you who called, Dennis, Kezia, Alex, Emmanuel, all of you who called us today. We appreciate you very much. Oh, well, at least we've started to see the beginning of suggestions of how to sort this out, right? And we thank our guests who joined us in the studio.
Hassan?
Yes, Hassan, and of course, Amasewa, who joined us over the phone. We thank you both for spending your time with us on the Super Morning Show. There's more to come. Look, we're talking about accrediting and certifying professionals, right? Lawyers, obviously, are professionals whose accreditation and certification has come up for conversation. But how about HR professionals? Dr. Jeff Bassi joins us after this break so we can talk about that.
Wow, wow, wow. Hope you have heard, rent to own now in Ghana. The Flan City Extension Project Rent to Own Land and House Ownership Scheme by the Ningo Pram District Assembly and its partners, supported by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural